Kazakhstan International Vectors program informs you about international relations, political opinions, economic solutions and social development. Virtually anyone can invent something. To embody their idea into reality, into a particular product, that's what really matters. Henry Ford, American industrialist and inventor. Franchises versus startups. Why the last ones lose? The Asian franchise markets are flourishing. What's the secret? Start a business. Who will tell how to choose a franchise? Recently, all over the world, a development of a personal business from scratch was considered the key to success. Today, startup businessmen are reducing their risks and costs and increasingly turn to franchising. That is, they buy a ready-made idea and brand. They sell you a ready-made business starting from how you will arrange your interior, for example in a cafe, how you will train your staff and ending with how you will keep accounts and pay taxes. But here it is necessary to clarify that if you think you buy a franchise and that's your guarantee for a good income, these are slightly false expectations. Here you need to understand that buying a franchise, you will be under a very strict control, and the higher the brand, the more serious the control will be. However, still buying a franchise, the risks are minimal. There is no need to invest in marketing. Usually the brand is already familiar to all. According to statistics, over 5 years of operating, 80% of franchise companies survive and about 8 times less do the startups. For the franchisor, that is the owner of the license, what are the benefits? Of course, the advantages is that the company can grow without attracting additional investment. That is, it is not necessary to take a loan. He or she simply sells the license and by this makes a profit. Due to this, the owner can build a huge network. In the 50s, in the United States, they have begun actively building a network of national roads. Roadside cafes began appearing along the trails. This has also contributed to the development of franchise relations. And as soon as the seller of multi-mixers, Ray Kroc, brought the license from the McDonald brothers, a real boom in the country began. Today, the US franchise fills more than 10% of country's GDP. As an example of a developed franchise market, there in the US, various franchise offers exist, even for $800. There are also free offers, but they do charge a royalty under certain percentage. There are actually a lot of various offers today. The same thing comes to us. In other words, I see in the local market the offers that are available, the so-called low-cost offers. Thus, the United States have far not the most developed franchise market. There is now the maximum number of networks and outlets in China. Other Asian countries also show an active growth. In India, back in 2012, there were 45,000 franchisees and 2,500 concepts. The cumulative turnover of the companies amounted to almost $13.5 billion. By 2017, it is expected to increase to 168,000 franchisees and 3,500 concepts, and the turnover will exceed $50 billion. In Taiwan, there are more than 2,500 concepts. In China, the number of concepts is close to 5,000. In India, American and European franchisees easily acclimatize. The level of proficiency in English is very high in the country. Franchise in China is very specific. Up to 90% are the national brands. The most popular areas are catering and retail. The average duration of a contract in China is much shorter than in other countries, only 3 years. And a foreign company that has recently came to the market can be easily displaced by the local twin. One of the world leaders is Brazil. There is also very high density. It is also very active. South Africa is very active in these terms. Well, I would like to say that Brazil and South Africa have their own brands of high quality. Even the local brands there are more popular than the foreign ones. The higher the purchasing power of the population, the higher the level of total GDP of the country, and the more developed the franchising is. Although, today the opposite is also true. The more entrepreneurs sell their businesses through franchise, the more developed a country is considered. Experts determine the development of business relations through franchising as the most promising. Today, 3 million enterprises with a turnover of $3.79 trillion are operating in the world. This is about 20% of the global economic turnover. Every 8 minutes, a new franchise point is being opened in the world. All in all, there are 20 million brands which are distributed globally through a franchise. In 2011, a native of New Zealand has used the services of the Snow Pro company, which makes fixation devices for the lower jaw to eliminate snoring. He liked the effect so much that he bought the company and decided to develop it through the sales of franchises. The biggest challenge for the network development is obtaining licenses for goods. Every unit is made according to individual customer metrics. The device is considered to be the subject to medical prescription. And if in Australia and New Zealand such devices can be sold freely by virtually anyone, in other countries some difficulties arise. The law requires that franchisees have medical education. However, to date, the entrepreneur has already sold 22 franchises. Why a registry of franchise companies is needed? Where the Kazakh franchises are being sold. Franchise is being used in 75 areas of business worldwide, but in some industries, this system works more efficiently than in others. 20% of all franchises sold in the world are in fast food, 15% in retail trade, 13% in the personal services sector. In recent years, purchased licenses in the field of education and personal services are gaining popularity. Franchises of large and well-known brands are not affordable for an ordinary entrepreneur. Only big players can afford them, but it is more difficult to understand the small and little-known brands, while up to 90% of the global franchise market is based on small businesses and small retail outlets. Franchising is based on small enterprises, on little pizzerias, on small fast food outlets, on small services. That is the foundation of the franchise. And major brands, why are they so large? Due to the fact that they have a few thousand such points around the world. Development of franchise market is beneficial for all sectors of the economy, especially for sales and promotion of domestic brands, the analysts say. Today in Kazakhstan there are about hundreds of projects, licenses for which are successfully being sold both domestically and abroad. In addition, special projects for the development of local franchises have appeared in the country. Apart from that, the Professional Association, along with state-owned enterprises, support and teach the work in franchising both brand owners and license holders. In the world, such associations are carrying rather educational, informational support to entrepreneurs. We advise our businesses, we produce some leaflets and books in order to educate on franchising, we organize roundtables, conferences, jointly with Damu Foundation, we hold exhibitions which allow our Kazakhstani franchise businesses exhibit free of charge. And of course the media coverage, publications. That is, we almost play the role of ombudsman for our franchise businesses. We protect our businesses and lead them. Franchising Association of Kazakhstan is working upon the international standards. The key objective of the organization is the protection of businessmen and reduction of their risks to a minimum, as well as the promotion of laws aimed at protecting the franchisee. Today we are working on the creation of a registry of franchise companies, where reliable companies will be included, and anyone who wants to know what is the situation on franchise or can he or she work with a particular company will be able to do that. And we also look at the roster of bona fide franchises. This registry is needed, it has been practiced all over the world, and thanks to this registry, and anyone has the opportunity to see how the company is doing. The history of franchising in Kazakhstan begins with 1994, when a large bottling network came to the country. In the 90s, many ideas in the country were promoted thanks to franchising. Boutiques, hotels. Even today, the retail segment in Kazakhstan is ahead of the world leader, a segment of fast food. Today in Kazakhstan there are more than 350 partner network built. They bring up to 0.2% of the total GDP of the country. That is about $3 billion. The year 2002 is another milestone of franchising development in Kazakhstan. This year a law on franchising has passed and Franchising Association of Kazakhstan has been established. For example, there is no such law in neighboring Russia so far. Through exhibitions and other activities of the association, the level of awareness of local businessmen has increased significantly. Since this period, franchise agreements have begun to be registered legally in the Ministry of Justice. That is, from this period a definition of franchising and its legal field have become more or less clear. And somewhere in the 2000s, the franchise has started to spread more widely in Kazakhstan. Starting a business upon franchise is beneficial not only to the entrepreneur who spends a minimum of effort and knows exactly when to get to the first profit, but also to consumers, because the franchise usually is a business of high standards. The company values the brand reputation, which guarantees high-quality products and services to consumers. The state-owned Damu Foundation develops the whole program to provide preferential services for the development of franchise business in the country, and it makes sense to be interested in this program, to learn more about it, to look for a good franchise on oneself. You should not wait for the state to help you fully and both give the money and find the franchise. But large franchises are either busy or too expensive. No vice, entrepreneurs can look for regional ideas in the Russian market. This country is the main supplier of franchises for Kazakhstan. However, the scope should be chosen wisely. These are the educational programs, from preschool education, finishing with high school, and even universities are also being opened via the franchise. It is common in the world today, and Kazakhstan is still not involved in this niche. Next, you can search for very specific franchise, let's say the media franchise. The Noapiisovs were not afraid to buy an unusual franchise. A few years ago, a couple opened a dance studio upon the largest franchisor of Russia. Now they remember how much time it took to wait all for and against before opening this business. Me and my husband are doing business with our partners for not a single year, and we felt there was no need to waste our time and resources in order to invent a new product. A local product, a dance studio that works not upon the franchise, would have much less opportunities for the development. The fact is that the people who are dancing, they are very funny, active, positive, and travel a lot. So we did not want to spend time to develop our own product, to make our own mistakes, and we decided that it is much more expedient to pay for the purchase of a franchise with a brand book for a product that can ensure a successful entrance to the market and will be competitive and will have a very strong position in the local market. Difficulties were initially only with the selection of personnel. Still, there are less dance teachers in Kazakhstan than in Russia. Now the staff is recruited and trained, and dance studio brings a stable income. At the launch of our project, we had a team from Moscow which has helped us to fully run the project, starting from the reception and finishing with some details of the interior, the planning things, let's say. Our teachers are being trained regularly and undergo trainings in Moscow and here on the spot with the local teachers, whom we often invite from the managing company. The export of franchises from Kazakhstan is about 2 decades of age. For the first time, Kazakhstani Transport Company has sold the franchise in Kyrgyzstan in 1996. Today, the number of franchises exported from the Republic has increased significantly. We have examples of successful companies which cover Kazakhstan with their franchises, but there are few of them, while the foreign companies come to the regions faster than our local Kazakhstani do. The franchise export from Kazakhstan is focused primarily on Russia and Kyrgyzstan. These markets are similar to Kazakhstani one in language and mentality, so there is no need to adapt anything.